Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. Today I am here to give my thoughts on Road, Alice Cooper's 22nd solo album, and overall 29th studio album. So, released on August 25th via earMusic. So, with all that said, let's begin. Alright. Now, before I get into giving my thoughts on Road, you know what I have to do. I have to do a track list rundown so I can tell you folks what are the songs that are on this album, how many tracks that are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. Since this album consists a total of 13 tracks, it clocks in at the length of 47 minutes and 43 seconds. So, these 13 tracks are of course starting with I'm Alice, then into Welcome to the Show, All Over the World, Dead Don't Dance, Go Away, White Line Frankenstein, Big Boots, Rules of the Road, which probably can be seen as the title track for the album here. Then into The Big Goodbye, Road Rats Forever, maybe also semi there too as being a title track for the album. Baby Please Don't Go, which is not a cover song, just to get that out of the way. 100 More Miles, and then finally ending with a cover of The Who's Magic Bus. So, there you go, folks. There's your 13 tracks. Did you miss that sound? Yeah, I know you did. You missed the sound of me slapping and hitting my notes across the microphone. Because after all, I really do care about your well-being of your hearing. I love that. One more time. Yeah. Okay. On to my thoughts now. Jesus, that just... Shit. Alright. At least I'm back with another album review. So, Alice Cooper has returned here in 2023 with yet another slab of his usual uncanny, smart alecky, theatrical style of rock and roll. Well, the only way Alice Cooper does it. Now, of course, the new album here is not the only thing Alice Cooper is being talked about for currently. But I will refrain myself from going into those details. Not that I'm protective of the legendary shock rocker because of my lifelong fandom for this guy, but mostly for reasons of, well, time restraints and just focusing on the music itself. So the controversy is just best saved for another video, or probably somebody else, because it probably doesn't have to really be me to speak about the current controversies behind Alice Cooper right now, okay? I don't have to. So I can just focus on the music and the album itself, and everybody else is probably just going to be very happy as well. So, okay, let's just move on. So, what does Alice Cooper offer this time around? Well, it'd be better to just say that it's Alice Cooper. But I do have to go in depth details here to give you a better understanding. Back in 2021, Alice Cooper had released another concept album that saw him feel very nostalgic for his pivotal days of playing in the clubs of Detroit and just overall paying tribute to the scene that was the Detroit rock and roll scene that he and his band played a huge part in spearheading alongside the likes of Iggy Pop and the Stooges, MC5, and of course, Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes. And while I liked Detroit Stories just fine, with this new one here, I do have to confess that at first listen it didn't immediately click with me, but with subsequent listens, I gotta say, Road is more to my liking. What I find is that it's less crowded with guest musicians and, if not, more consistent in its approach than compared to Detroit Stories. So I find that there is a more solid structure here. If anything, this is like a sister record to 2017's Paranormal album, which I thought was a very good return to form album after the very lackluster Welcome to My Nightmare from 2012. But with all this said, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is one of Cooper's greatest albums. Take for instances, I'm not too crazy for Baby Please Don't Go, which I feel is a paint-by-number 70s style like ballad. I mean, at least it's not another pointless cover of the Big Joe Williams blues song that has been covered by countless of bands. But was it necessarily to use the same song title? Just especially for such a very bland ballad that this I feel was, or is and shit. Speaking of pointless covers though, was it also necessary for there to be a cover of The Who's Magic Bus? At least it was tacked at the end of the album, but I could just live without hearing it ever again. And possibly the song itself, and let's put it this way. I do like The Who, but I'm not the biggest Who fan, okay? But that's not also a reason why I don't want to hear a cover of the song, because granted, I don't know. I'm just kind of going on if there is possibly a concept to this album. Was it necessary there for Alice Cooper to fit in a cover of the Who song? Was it really that necessary? Because to me, if this is a concept, what does this song even in itself do for the concept? What does it add to it? I think it adds nothing. It just seems like you might as well just consider a oh my god, I knew I had the word in my head here, but just a glorified bonus track. So that's that, okay? So yeah, I can just live without hearing the song again, and you can probably just stop the album pretty much by 100 miles and don't have to put yourself through listening to his cover of Magic Bus. And then there are a few songs on here that not only recycle past song titles, let alone lyrics that reuse past lyrical lines that Alice Cooper has used in his past decades, but I feel are just pretty paint by numbers and were just thrown in to fill up space, like White Line Frankenstein. I understand that this was the first lead single, but the song just does nothing for me. Same also kind of goes for Big Boots and Road Rats Forever. Time for a semi-rant here, but I just read someone's review that was published for the UK news article site The Telegraph. The guy who wrote that review, or in that review, said that the song Big Boots was filled with misogynistic viewpoints. I'm sorry, but for someone like me who has listened to far more albums with heavy-handed misogyny, the lyrics in Big Boots just feel tame and basically come off as like a tiny play schooler's take on misogyny. So in other words, the reviewer can go and touch grass. End of rant. I know I could have went on a little more detail on what to me really counts as true misogyny, but it would take up pretty much the rest of this video. It would take up a lot of space, and once again, I'm trying to restrain myself from going over the time limit that I think should be for a album review. So I'm just gonna just leave it right there, and you will probably at least take it for yourself and guess what are the type of albums that I'm probably would be referring to, that, and you could probably can name some yourself, that are very heavy-handed with really, really in-your-face misogyny. And you would definitely would also would say that and agree that the lyrics in Big Boots are so tame for being misogynistic. All right, so I'm just gonna end things right there. Now, with all the negatives out of the way, the songs that make this album for me are the opening I'm Alice, which is a nice fitting biographical speed run of Alice himself and sets up the vibe for the remainder of the album. Then into Welcome to the Show, which is one of the heavier songs here and has plenty of hooks. Then there's Go Away, which is a very fun rocker that recalls the glory days of the Alice Cooper band. And of course, same as well goes for Rules of the Road, which could have fit on either School's Out or Billion Dollar Babies. Then there is 100 More Miles, which is the best ballad on here, as it has that classic 70s era vibe to it that wouldn't be out of place on like an album of Welcome to My Nightmare, or maybe possibly Alice Cooper Goes to Hell, if you really had to find a way to fit it within that album. But you get where I'm going at with that. So, all in all, not the most perfect album from Alice, but a fine-fitting addition to his resume. It's just Alice Cooper being Alice Cooper, and that's all we can just ask for. You know, we can't ask for anything more than what we're getting here, and especially from someone like Alice Cooper, who's already getting up there in age, you know, and so this is the best we can ask for from him. So that's all I'm going to leave it there. So there it is, folks. There's my overall thoughts on Road from Alice Cooper. My rating for this, I'm going to look back at the paper now. Yep, that is the rating that I wrote down. I'm pretty much giving this a 7.75 out of 10. Again, it's not the greatest thing from Alice Cooper by far, but for what it's worth, you know, it's another enjoyable album from Alice Cooper, and to me, I think a 7.75, I think, is a very good fitting number for this album, because of, again, it kind of gets to the point of where this album kind of is, because again, this is not going to beat out any of his primetime classics from back in the day. It's just not going to. But for a Alice Cooper album in 2023, this is as good as probably you're going to get from him. And I know that to some that might be, you know, for some that probably are asking for a little too much. No, you really shouldn't be asking for too much from Alice Cooper. So, because of he's already went through so many classic albums to begin with. He's went through a lot of his great periods. And I think right now, he's just in his comfort spot. And from his comfort spot, you know, this is actually as good for a comfort album. And again, it's just a solid album from him with some great enjoyable stuff from Alice Cooper. And again, it still has a lot of those great classic characteristics, traits that you come to expect from Alice Cooper, and he does it still in a very nice way that feels very nostalgic to an extent. And again, it just makes you feel good to hear again. So it's just a great reminder of the girth of Alice Cooper in general, and I think that's what he was able to hone in on, even with the sort of negatives that I've given about the album. He still kind of hones in those great classic character traits that you come to expect from him. And again, I think for what it's worth, he did a pretty decent job doing it. And given the fact that he's pretty much saying that he's not looking into retirement any further right now, I think within the couple next years, you're going to expect more like this from him, and you just kind of have to take it for what it is. So there it is. For any of those who probably have listened to Road from Alice Cooper, if you have any thoughts, whether they are positive or negative, you can leave them in the comments section below. But if you have yet to listen to this album and are very curious on what he brought to the table here with Road, just go out and check it out. Just listen to it and see if it does anything for you. And for anyone who's been a diehard Alice Cooper fan, I can't see anything on this album that will not be up to your liking. So there you go. If you're, just the way I'm getting at is I can't see anything here that will not satisfy you. So that's it. I'm going to leave it there. So I hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.